everybody, Danny J here. It is Capes Not Included right here on the DJ Bean Productions Network. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave some comments, share the channel. As always, we want to hear from you. We have a great show today. Once again, make sure that notification bell is clicked because we want you to know when these episodes are coming up. We're getting a lot of stuff in for the new year, and this is going to be a great episode. But before we get into everything, let's show who we have on the show today. We have, of course, my man, Matt Sunner, popping on here. All right. And then we have the very lovely Lily Hernandez.
Hey there, hey.
Hey, she's so lovely. She's so quiet.
I try.
You know what I mean? So we have a great show today. We're going to talk about Wonder Woman 1984. Okay. It's been getting a lot of news lately. It did debut on HBO Max right around the same time that it was in the theaters. We're in a weird scenario where it's like they have to try and gauge, it a little differently because obviously they don't have box office results to work with, that type of thing. They're going by subscriptions to HBO Max. Even that's skewed in a sense because I don't pay for my subscription. It's paid through my cable company. So there's a lot of different factors involved. But primarily what we're going to talk about would be the movie itself. What we thought about it. Matt did not see the movie, but he's going to be chiming in. Lily did see it. I saw it. I don't know that Lily and I have the same aspect on this movie. Because we have not talked. Probably not, because I haven't talked about it, and this is like her thing. This is her Spider-Man for me.
I love Wonder Woman. I mean, for obvious reasons.
She is a Wonder Woman person, so we're going to see how things get up, and hopefully, Lily, you'll have an open mind as a teacher.
I always have an open mind. I'm a scientist.
Yeah, so hopefully, hopefully,
yeah, that's.
Hopefully, this is not going to be one-sided. We're going to argue. We're going to argue a lot on this movie.
That's fine with me. I'm ready.
Going to argue. She's ready to go. So we get a movie here where it starts off, and once again, let me start from the beginning. Spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie yet, turn this off. Come back after you've watched the movie. We are going to be talking about the movie in somewhat detail. But spoilers as of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 now. Okay. We start the movie off with a flashback to Themyscira. We see Diana as a child, and she goes through what's their version of like an Olympic event. Is their Olympics on Themyscira, and what we get out of this 4 or 5 minutes, probably 6 minutes or so, of this flashback is the setup of the base of the movie trope. And what I mean by that is this is actually a basic writing type of thing where it's like the moral of the story, we're going to set it up right now, and you're going to see it come into play later on. Okay. And they set up in this trope that it's just about truth. It's not about how you win. It's about how true you are and what you believe in, so on and so forth. And it sets up a very nice moral for what we would consider to be Wonder Woman to follow, obviously, going from there. Okay, so then we now flash forward to 1984. Now, my biggest problem, and we're going to get into the details about the movie, but my biggest problem with this is that they centralized it as 1984. I personally did not see a tremendous amount of references to the 80s in the movie.
Period. I didn't either.
Right.
Sean and I had a conversation about this because that was disappointing to me as well.
Yeah,
like why? 1984. How come we didn't get those throwback? For us especially, like in our demographic, get those throwback arcades or old commercials or old things that
our generation.
Or I guess and I'm assuming then too, probably none of the fashion that you would expect to see. Yeah, it's like
you do.
It didn't. You
didn't.
Okay.
That's there, but it's
low key.
They could have done
have the vibe.
So much more with it.
Honestly, the best way to describe it was, you ever watched the Golden Girls?
Yes.
Like now.
Of course.
And couldn't the Golden Girls be like right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Because old people dress like that, and old people like that kind of furniture, and that's just what it is. That's kind of like what it was. Is that what I'm watching in here didn't seem so out of the ordinary. You didn't see, aside from a scene here and there, and we'll get into it, you're not seeing the fashion of the 80s. You're really not. I mean,
Well,
Diana.
and not even just the fashion. Like I said, they could have really played on that like Stranger Things does. You
Yeah.
watch Stranger Things and you see stuff and you're like, oh my gosh, I remember that from when I was a kid. They could have done that and they didn't. So that part, yes, was disappointing.
Now, granted, Diana Prince is Wonder Woman, so she's supposed to be like she's created from clay by Zeus. Okay, so yes, this woman's supposed to be the hottest woman on the entire planet, universe, whatever. Right? She was too hot for the 80s. Was she not? Come on, come on. She was way too hot for the 80s, and like there was no girl. Like she looked exactly the way she did in Batman versus Superman. She looked exactly the way she did in Justice League. Okay. And in the 80s, let's face it, a 2020 Lily is a beautiful woman. But 1984 Lily, if I put her in the same age and put her back then, she's going to look a little different. Not going to say she's going to look ugly or something like that, but she's going to look different. Her style's going to be different. Her hair's going to be different. Her makeup's going to be different. And
well, okay, so maybe, but Diana Prince is timeless.
She is timeless.
She's timeless, so she's going to be classy and incredible no matter what decade she's in.
She stood out. Let's put it that way.
So there's but that
she stood out. Yeah, she stood out. She definitely did.
Yes, that happens. That happens everywhere. Crap, there are parts of the country that Sean and I go to, and people are like doing this, and I don't notice it, but he does, and he's like, "You don't belong here." And so, that's one of those things. And she doesn't know because
that's all those burpees.
Concentrating on that.
That's all those
not
burpees.
What she's thinking about.
Wonder Woman's doing all those burpees like you are. That's what it is. But so you get this scene in the beginning where they're in a mall. So that's where I guess the most of your nostalgic thing's going to happen. Yeah. And it's not even that nostalgic. You're not inside the stores or anything like that. You're seeing the storefronts because you're in a mall, right? And it doesn't look any different than a mall today. Let's put it that way too. The only thing that's nostalgic, or maybe you're seeing merry-go-round instead of like 579 or something like that.
Stores themselves, it's more or less the names on the outside of the store.
There's bad guys running through there. They don't look really any different. They're not wearing like members only jackets or. You know what I mean? Like I would have really like you said with Stranger Things, I would have like really played up. Plus in Stranger Things, they're wearing members only, they're wearing polo, stuff that was really hot in the 80s, and these people are not really doing that at all. It looked very, very plain Jane, right? So I didn't get an 80s vibe out of it. The other scenario too, and once again we'll get into this, is that we didn't get into the world plight of the 80s. There were so many things this movie could have drawn on, like the nuclear arms race, Russia. Let's think about back then, Star Wars. Okay, and I mean by Ronald Reagan Star Wars, not like Star Wars like we did in the last episode. I mean, like there were so many things that could have been what Diana could have helped fight against, and we didn't get that at all. Okay, so that's a big thing that was disappointing to me as well as a writer to say. We're missing the boat here a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
well, especially thinking, like you said, thinking about the Dreamstone and what was going on in the world at that time. There are lots of different things that they could have pulled in when they were showing different countries too.
Mm-hmm.
And I caught that as well. I was kind of bummed out about that, but I guess you have to take into consideration, just like with the mall and all that other stuff, you have to ask permission to use certain things. So who knows what kind of restrictions the writers were working with.
That's true too.
That's definitely something that we'd have to consider.
Now we get a thing, and Lily mentioned this. There's a Dreamstone. Now this is the MacGuffin of the movie. Okay, so this Dreamstone grants wishes. Okay, and much like a djinn, it also every wish has a price. So you wish for something, it'll grant it, but it's going to take something. It's going to take the best thing from you. So let's say, or something the most desire, or whatever the case would be. So you have established a great fortune with a home business, and then you wish for something and you get it granted, and then your business goes away. You see what I'm saying?
It's kind of like
give and take.
monkey paw story, where it's like you
Yes.
wish for money
They
and you
reference
get the
that.
money because your son is killed in a work accident.
Exactly. All right. So now you kind of have to figure this out in a sense. Now, the whole 6-8 minutes of the beginning where we see Diana as a child and learn that truth is a thing. I think that could have been told in a flashback telling of Diana saying this to somebody versus us seeing it, because I think I would have liked to have seen an origin or maybe a demonstration of the Dreamstone. You right or wrong, you see what I'm saying? Like, we, in other words, we didn't we get all we get is that, oh, it's a Dreamstone. Oh, it's it supposedly grants wishes. Okay, that's it. And then all of a sudden now people are doing it.
Where
Like,
your opening sequence is more of showing the true power
right,
of
where did this, like,
central
where did it
object, where
come?
they come
Yeah,
from.
where did it come from? What is its potential power?
Well,
Why
that's
should
what
it
they
do
were
this?
looking for. And throughout the movie, they were talking about it, that they didn't know where it came from. They didn't know a
Right.
whole lot about it. And so that's why,
But did you have
Dr.
to
Minerva had to come in and try and help out because she knew about gemology. Like, all these people are working together to try and figure out what the thing is. But they did bring up and they did reference the
Yeah.
monkey's paw several times, that
Yeah.
it does grant a wish, but it takes something from you.
But did
And
we
so
have to
that
follow along with it? Did we have to, like, search this with them? I mean, I could have known about this before they found out. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, because we see it. Well, the thing is, you see it in so many other TVs and movies where
Right.
it's like where they kind of pull the curtain back and give the audience that knowledge. Like, here, there, something that our
Right.
characters don't, and it's almost kind of like you're waiting for them to figure it out, and it kind of
Yeah.
gives you a one up, on your
I want to know where
character.
I'm going with this. I mean, I spent
Yeah.
this money. I want to know where I'm going with this.
I get that, but at the same time, you don't want to try and figure stuff out too. That's part of the reason why I like psychological thrillers, is trying to figure things out before they tell me.
Well, I don't think this
So
was.
maybe that's where we have we're different.
Well, I mean, I
there.
think
That's
I'm
wonderful,
kind of
because I
I
want to
think
try and
it,
work it out.
in a psychological thriller, yeah, I kind of want a little bit more because, like you say, I'm kind of playing along and I'm seeing if I can figure it out before the reveal, because I want that whole thing of like, I knew it, versus, oh damn, I got that so wrong. But I think there's so many other things. I think in a superhero movie, I kind of like having, because I almost feel like I've got a one up on the superhero. Now I want to see how the superhero is going to deal with it.
Then we get the introduction to our villain, our key villain, which is Maxwell Lord. Which Maxwell Lord in the comic books, pretty cool villain. He's not to the scale of Lex Luthor, but he's an industrialist. He's someone that's an opportunist. He is someone that actually was the key villain in Supergirl season 1 when it was on CBS. He was the main villain on there. Very cool. Like, he's like Lex Luthor-esque, but not as wealthy, not as obsessed, that type of thing. You see what I'm saying? So he's a very good villain. This guy, played by the great Mandalorian actor, Pedro, what the hell is his name again? I keep asking. Pascal. Pedro Pascal. I don't know why I can't remember his last name. So over the top that I'm like, I'm the whole movie, I'm like, I can't believe this guy's the Mandalorian. I can't believe this guy's the Mandalorian.
It's got great range.
You know what I mean? Well, this was definitely range, because this was completely not the Mandalorian when you see him. And not to say he was a bad actor, but wasn't it over the top?
No, that was exactly what he needed to do. What is wrong with you?
Oh, I don't know.
If he's just the Hispanic version of Lex Luthor, who gives a shit about that?
He was really over the
I
top.
completely disagree with you there.
He could have been Eric Estrada. He could have been Eric Estrada, but he ended up being somebody else. Okay. You know what I mean? He was not Punch from Tips. Okay, he was not slick.
He was fantastic. And then when you learn his backstory and you understand where he came from, if you don't understand that type of struggle, being made fun of for what you lack, or being made fun of for who you are, what color your skin is, where you come from, the language you speak, if you've never experienced that, then even in
Well,
that, watching that,
yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, what
Wow.
it was is that we see it's a classic. The villain comes from nothing,
Yeah.
has inspiration
That's where
to,
his ambition comes from. That
right,
drive comes from not wanting to be that person
right.
anymore.
Doesn't want to be that person, and for whatever reason, he has bad luck. He has very bad luck. Nothing. He's like Ralph Cramden with all the different schemes that never pan out,
And you
type of
almost
thing.
feel bad for him. You almost forget
Hmm.
for a second that he's a villain, and you have like it pulls at your heartstrings a little bit. And
You're
you're like,
rooting
oh,
for him a
poor
little bit.
guy.
You're rooting for him a little bit, and he's not.
Yeah.
He's not nasty. He's not evil. He's opportunistic. Okay. And but you find out half-heartedly that he's searching for this thing too. And it's like, once again, I'm like, all right, well, how does he know about this thing? And you have to just accept that for whatever reason he knows about this wishing stone and he's searching for it. And like, he doesn't know if it works or not. Now let's put that placation out there now. Anybody who knows about it, other than really Diana, who also really doesn't know much about it, knows of its legend, but has no idea if it works. But they have this blind faith that I need to fucking find this stone and make some wishes. Like, it's
People
very
have
blind
blind
faith.
faith every day when they play the lottery. That's blind faith.
True.
Oh
Well,
shit,
that's
let me
true.
pay this
That's true.
money and maybe I'll be rich. It's the
Well, this
same
is a
thing.
little bit. Well, this is not a scratch off. This is a fucking stone you got to fucking search for. You know what I mean?
No,
But like,
I mean it's the same thing, putting blind faith into something
oh,
and hoping that it works.
so now the girl that plays Minerva, she is what's her Katie Siggs?
Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig, Katie Siggs. Who the hell is that person? I didn't even make that person up. Kristen Wiig. She was from Saturday Night Live. She plays a great part. She plays this nerdy. Once again, I thought it was a little over the top. She gets knocked down. Nobody pays attention to. Like, who are these mean fucking people? That Chinese guy, who she says to him, and she knocks her stuff. You meet her in the first. She bumps into somebody, knocks all her shit out. Right. So now she's on the ground. Oh, hi, blah. Could you? He's like, yeah, and he walks by her. Like, who are these assholes that won't go down and pick up a fucking paper for this girl?
It's
Like,
1984.
dude, they were like
He's the
adults, and it was
Zabka
like
of
a
the
school.
movie.
It was like being on a playground, and like they're in fourth grade, and somebody pushed a girl down, and like they're like, yeah, you wear glasses to see, like stupid shit like that. It was like how horrible are these people? Like I said, man sucks right now. Like this is horrible, right? So we get it depicted that she has no friends whatsoever, and she's over the top about her no friends, and I'm like, all right, she's being funny about it. Okay. Certain things, certain quirky things she says and stuff like that. And you're made to feel bad for her too, because she's coming once again from nothing. So she has a relatable quality to Maxwell Lord in this sense. Okay. You don't know why. And you're like, all right, come on, bitch. I get you don't have friends, but like, stop. Just stop with the nerdy shit. Like, and Chinese guy, pick up the papers. I mean, stop. Don't be rude. I mean, I'm getting angry at this show at this point, right? I'm like, and I'm not even like a quarter of the way into the movie. So we get that, and she meets Diana, and Diana is breathtaking, right? She comes down, she practically has wings. She's like floats into the room. The most gorgeous creature on the planet. She has no business being in 1984. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh my God, right? So you see this woman, and she helps her out, and she befriends her and says, blah, blah, blah. And even Diana's like, all right, you're a little quirky, but okay, whatever. Right. So they meet up and they have lunch and they eat and they laugh and they become personable to each other. And she becomes attached to Diana because Diana is everything that she's not. She's courageous. Diana's is confident. Now, Minerva is smart. She has so many qualities, but she downplays them because of her insecurities. So that's the whole point of the character. So then she gets this wishing stone and just for the hell of it says, oh, I wish to be like Diana. I wish to be like Diana. Right. And boom, it happens. Right. So now you're seeing shit happen, but there was no point. Like in other words, like I was like, did she really think it was going to happen, or was she just placating to her mind.
No,
that
it's just like before when Diana was holding the stone. She was just sitting there holding it and probably thinking, oh, if this actually worked, what would be the coolest thing for me? Or, like, what would I really want? Just like when you blow out the candles on your birthday cake.
Yeah.
You know that shit's not coming true. That's just hopeful, optimistic. Let me throw it out there into the universe and see if it happens. She didn't.
It's probably not going to help, but it ain't going to hurt either.
Yeah. First of all, Lily would make a great guidance counselor. Now you know that shit's not going to come true, you asshole. But still, do it.
I mean,
You're 4'11". You are not going to be an NBA center, okay?
Right. So now this gets to the big MacGuffin in the room. Like you sit there and say, well, how did Steve Trevor come back? Because the motherfucker died 40 years ago, right? So apparently when she was holding the stone and she reads the scripture to say what it does, like Lily says, like you kind of see that Diana's like kind of staring off into space a little bit, and she's been pining. You kind of get the idea she pines for Steve Trevor, right? She pines for that time. You go through her apartment, you get to see her at home, and she's got pictures of him, and she's got pictures of a ranch that's set up in his name. Now you don't know if she set that up or if that was his family ranch, but she's there, the Trevor Ranch. And then you see a picture of her with this old woman who I didn't realize at first, but it's the assistant from Wonder Woman 1. You know the picture I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. There's a picture of her on a boat with like an old lady. And this old lady is the assistant from the first movie. The little round girl that was like Steve's assistant, Matt. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right. It's her as an old lady. So she stayed with her friends that she made friends with in the war and blah, blah, blah. Right. So that's what you get, that she's very nostalgic and she really, really pines for him. So now what ends up happening is his soul goes into some random dude. How that happened, how the dude was randomly picked, I have no idea. Right. But some equally stature, handsome dude becomes Steve Trevor. And the trope is that although he looks like you to everybody else, to me, you look like Steve Trevor. Now she realizes that it's not Steve Trevor. That you know what? She kind of realizes this is not Steve. At least in body alone.
We need to back it up because they were at this event and she's walking through the room and everybody's following her because everybody's he knows that it's her. The guy is following her, and then he says that he wishes that they had more time, and she turns around like, why are you talking to me? Yeah. And she had even told him before, like, I don't know you,
back off.
No, thank you.
But she's like, but understand, she's being hit on. They're at this event for work, and she's being hit on by every guy there, obviously, because she's Gail Gadot. I know her name's Gadot, but it's Gadot to me because she's hot as hell. And then Minerva, who now had made this wish to be like Diana, gains all this confidence. And she goes there and she's dressed to the nines and she looks amazing.
But also, so here's the place again where they drop the ball because she's dressed to the nines, but not in 1984.
No,
it does not look like 1984. She could have worn that outfit right now. She could have bought that, wherever right now. And they could have really played that up, and they didn't, and that bummed me out too.
Here's a counteraction I got to do for you, though, because when I looked at that, and the scene I thought about was Batman Returns, which was 1991, 1992, I think was Batman Returns, 91.
Yes, Kim Basinger.
No, not Kim Basinger. The other one.
No, I'm thinking of the first Batman. So you remember how Kim Basinger was dressed at that big gala that they had? That's what they should have done with her.
Right. But I'm thinking when I saw her in this black dress, it reminded me of Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman when they go to the Christmas ball.
Yeah.
With Shrek, and she's in this black and silver number, and I'm like, and that can be worn today as well, because that was another number that was like, that was out of time, like, wow, like this is an amazing, and that was done at that time when you think about it, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so Minerva looked amazing, and once again, nobody looks like they should be in this time period, right? So we're going to fast forward now. She realizes that this guy is Steve Trevor. So now she's making out with this stranger who she just told to get away because she's realizing that it's Steve Trevor. Okay, so she takes him home and she has sex with him. And somebody said on Facebook, did Wonder Woman just rape that guy? like what happened there? Like, yeah, holy shit. And I'm like, yeah, she like got with this dude who everybody else sees as somebody else. And I saw this in The Ghost Whisperer, or with Jennifer Love Hewitt, where her husband dies and he goes into somebody else, and everybody else sees him as a different person, but she sees him as him. This was the same exact trope from that.
Yeah, she even
movie.
says, "All I see is you."
All I see is you. That's all she sees is Steve Trevor, right? So now he's got to get dressed. And now this is where you get your 80s montage, right? He's going through and he's going into this guy's closet and he's putting on clothes, and you see the striped shirts. And the guy's wardrobe was so all over the place that it didn't make sense again. Like if you were in the 80s, I don't care what area you're in.
It was a mishmash of 80s style versus
right,
style
versus one style. Like
80s.
if I like Don Johnson, then I have white suits with blue shirts and no socks. That's it. That's all I have. This guy had everything from the Clash to Duran Duran to like it was like all over the place.
Maybe he was finding himself. Who
Yeah.
knows? Why
Well,
judge that?
see,
You are reaching.
that's I'll give you that. I'll give you that because
Yeah. Could be.
Again, with us being DJs, I mean, we've talked about this before on DJs After Dark, that some of the different stuff that you listened to in the 80s and how prevalent there was this mix of stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can almost see that if it's kind of like a thing of like maybe there's just like, well, these are for my jeans and t-shirt days where I'm just kind of chilling around the house versus when I'm going out. But it sounds to me like there's just it's no coherent style because everybody has a style.
Yeah, it was a bunch of different stuff.
And this guy, wasn't he kind of dressed like he had like khakis and a bomber jacket? Didn't he dress like a pilot too? And he wasn't a pilot.
Well,
but didn't he kind of dress like a pilot?
Dress for the job you want.
Who knows at this point?
You know what I mean? Like I was really getting confused by this entire movie.
Well, right? Because he had to have because you see Steve Trevor, then he suddenly has to be dressing like Steve Trevor.
Right. So now Steve goes through this whole thing. He gets through this whole montage of stuff, and you're like, oh, how funny, how trope. And then you get through it, and finally he the clothes he settles on are nothing fashionable in comparison to what he was trying on. Okay. Because that was silly. Now let's get back to business again. Is basically what ends up happening, right? So now he goes out and she's showing him the world, right? To show him all the different things, and Steve's amazed by they're at a Air Force base or something like that, where he's seeing they're at the museum, the National Air and Space Museum, I think they are.
Yes, because they're at the Smithsonian.
Right. So yeah, right, because she's working there along with Minerva. So now he's seeing rockets and he's seeing space exploration as far as how it's depicted in the museum. And he's amazed. And he's like, oh my God, this is so crazy, so cool. Right. And he's getting this chance to see what the future held beyond what he knew. And then they have to try and figure out what's going on. Now, in the meantime, Maxwell Lord, who's looking for this thing, starts hitting on Minerva, because she is very able to play it up to because of her insecurities and stuff like that. Even with the confidence coming in,
she's not insecure anymore.
No, but she fell for him. She definitely fell for him.
He was the first person to actually like really pay attention to her. And even before she made that wish, he was still really paying attention to her because he needed her. He needed her to help him find out where the stone was located. Right. So she already had a thing for him because holy crap, here's a guy that's actually talking to me.
And not to mention he's powerful. He supposedly has money.
Supposedly powerful and rich. And so
he's on television. So this is crazy. So she's hooking up with him, and you don't see this, but she lets him take the stone. Okay. So now what he does, he takes the stone, he makes a wish that he becomes the stone. The stone's power goes into him. So he's now the wisher, right? So the stone dissolves and he's now able to grant wishes and take what he wants. And he has this understanding of what's to do. Okay. How, I don't know. Okay. And now it goes on from there. Now, going back to what the stone does, it grants your wish, but it takes away something from you. It's something for something. Diana, who inadvertently made this wish for Steve to come back, starts to lose her power.
She lost her power before then. Like you
Yeah.
see when they're in Egypt and they're going through all that stuff and she gets shot and she's bleeding and she's like, oh crap.
Yeah.
She lost her power before then.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, Wonder Woman is like the paradigm of truth. Everything that truth is about and consists of
Mhm.
in its intangible meaning is manifested in this woman.
Right.
She knowingly, whatever,
Yeah.
brought or Steve's back, but he's not. He's in that dude.
Mhm.
She knows that that's not him, and she still goes along with it.
Yeah.
Like everything
Well,
about
her thing is,
revolves around the truth, and she
Right.
just bypasses that and is
But-
selfish. And in that act
Right.
right there, that's where she started to
and
lose
she
her
says,
power.
and she says, why shouldn't I have something? Like, she's
And
like,
I'm
oh, I can
sorry,
save the
but
world.
that's not Wonder Woman.
Right. And she's like,
She
I
would
can save
never
the
do
world.
that.
Why can't I have something? And
Which is why it's
a human-
slightly
it's a human thing.
infuriating the way that people are getting mad and saying like, oh my God, she's, there's this huge hole in the story about her being with this guy and like taking advantage of this guy and whatever. That's the point. If you know, like if you understand who even if you loosely understand who and
Right.
what Wonder Woman is, if you're, if I don't want to insult anybody, but you should already know that once she was like, hey buddy, come home with me, something's not right. She would have never done that.
Right.
And that's where she lost her power. That's what she gave up. Not her superpowers, her essence of truth and everything that she embodied. That's what she lost.
Right. Right.
Not her ass kicking skills. That's
Right.
what bothers me.
But she was still,
because
she was still kicking ass.
this movie.
Because she was still kicking ass in the movie.
Oh,
It's just that she was
yeah.
kicking ass like you and I would.
Yeah, but that
Without powers,
was
right.
not her greatest gift. And that's
Right.
the thing that's why I said that's the thing that makes me mad, because in the beginning of the movie, when she was going through the the little Olympiad thing that they're doing at the beginning
Yeah.
of the movie, they established that and people completely lost it.
Right. That's going back to what I said in the beginning. That's where you establish the entire movie.
Yeah.
And those first couple minutes to say, this is going to be the moral of this whole movie. This is what's going to be this movie standpoint. Okay.
Yep. And that's why I have such a strong opinion on this movie.
Right.
Is better than it's getting credit for. People are just not seeing it.
But now, and I'm going to disagree because it really was really poorly written. But the thing was, check your sugars. You're getting angry. No, but
You're lucky you're in Pennsylvania, sir.
Right.
I watch the way I talk to me.
Right. So now you see the same thing with Minerva. Now Minerva, they establish as, although she's a nerd, and she's doesn't have friends and stuff like that, and she's very awkward in that sense, she's very caring. And you get this established in a very quick thing where there's this homeless person that she knows, but you establish that she knows him because she, hey, Charlie, or whatever his name is, and she gives him some food that she got from when she was out with Diana. She ordered him something, and he, oh, thank you so much. And he knows her, and that they have a relationship, and when she starts to change and she's discovering that she has Wonder Woman's powers, her strengths and stuff like that. There's a point before this happens where she gets mugged or almost mugged by some drunk guy on the street, and Diana saves her from that, and then that same guy comes across her path again, but now she's powered and she can defend herself, and she has the confidence to do so as well. And she starts beating the shit out of this dude and starts liking it. like she's liking the power. She's getting like almost like it's like a drug. Like the more she beats on this guy, the more she's feeling empowered, and she does it more and more and more. And then the homeless guy says, "Oh my God, are you all right?" Blah, blah, blah. And she says, "Mind your business."
Yeah, he
Right.
asks her
That's
what she's doing
right.
because
What are
he's
you
not
doing?
used to seeing her like that.
Right. And she goes, "Mind your business." And she walks away from him. So you see it's establishing that like she's losing her heart in a sense,
Yeah,
which was
she's
what.
losing her compassion and her
Mhm.
humanity.
Right. And you're like, oh, that kind of sucks. That's what's pulling from her. Now, what did we lose? Now, let me ask you this: what you thought? What did Maxwell Lord lose?
His health. Remember they're talking
Yes.
about how he takes
Yeah.
all those vitamins and he has all those supplements and
See that, and
he
that's
was
something
losing his health.
yeah, that's something I kind of like missed out. I missed, but I didn't miss. Like he takes vitamins all the time, stuff like that. But you kind of like he's so over the top that he's saying all kinds of stuff that like it's like gibberish. That to me, it's just him just jabbering on about shit, and I'm thinking that's the character. And I honestly did miss that he's a health nut. He's not like at the gym, but he takes vitamin C. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But he starts losing his health. Uh, the more wishes he grants, he starts bleeding and stuff like that. The bleeding actually comes from the comic book. When he gains power, not in the same fashion as this movie, but he does gain power in the comic book. And when he uses his power, it makes his nose bleed. So they kind of took that from the comic book, in that particular sense to kind of tie him a little bit to the comics. But he's just like he's getting back, everything that was failing that he was doing, failed schemes, this and everything. He's gathering all this wealth and he's gathering all this stuff and he's getting back at people that said, you know what, you're a loser, you're this, you're that, that type of thing. And so he's like slowly getting out of control. Okay, is what we get. So now Steve Trevor in this other guy's body and Diana are going after. We get more Diana than we get Wonder Woman. Do you agree with that?
Well, yes, but I think that it has to do with what was happening with the stone. She's not as much Wonder Woman, like she's losing being Wonder Woman.
But I think it's also in like if you watched Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, that was a Peter Parker movie that wasn't a Spider-Man movie. And I think this was in the same trope that like this was about like Wonder Woman is this faceplate, but who's behind the tiara? And that's what we were actually like when we get down to the core of it. What's Diana got to say about this? What's Diana doing about this? Because at the end of the day, yeah, you can call yourself Wonder Woman, but you're Diana. You're Princess of Themyscira.
And it's nice having that background, knowing who the person is. That's why everybody's interested in Clark Kent. Clark Kent and Superman are different, but one and the same, and you still want to know what's going on with Clark Kent.
Yeah. Why? What does he think? And you're saying, well, they're the same person. Yes, they are, and no, they're not, in a sense.
Yeah.
And Diana's duality is not as split down the middle, but Diana versus Wonder Woman, there's obviously a responsibility there, but Diana wants to have a life. Diana longs for things to be wonderful and good and stuff like that. She longs to have Steve in her life and blah, blah, blah. And we get to a point where Maxwell's granting all these wishes. And you got to be careful what you wish for is what it comes down to, because now the world's going into chaos. Okay. It's becoming chaos. They called it the Dreamstone, but I think in the comic books, it was actually the Stone of Chaos, I think is what it was called. And you see that in the movie that like the world's just blowing up. You know what I mean? Like nothing's going right at all because everybody's getting what they want. And like, they're like, you know what, Matt, I wish you would fucking drop dead. And then you start to die in front of you. Like that's happening. Right. And that kind of crap is that. So it's like shit like that's going on. And Maxwell's going further and further. And he's trying, what you get throughout the entire time is that Maxwell Lord he has a son who you see in the beginning, and he gets him every once in a while. And what it is that you see that he's he's trying to prove to his son that he's somebody. I'm somebody to be proud of. Okay. Because he's really feeling this I'm a loser thing. Nothing's working right for me. People are calling me a loser. They're saying I'm worthless. And son, I don't want you to think that way of me. I'm somebody and I'm going to prove it to you. And that's like kind of like his sub goal throughout this whole thing, is that he's trying to prove to his son. And then meanwhile, his son's just like, we just want you to be here. I don't care what you have. I just want you to, Daddy, I just want you home, that type of thing. Yeah. So he's kind of like losing the sight of
what's important as far as being a father.
Right, exactly. So he's going through all that, and Diana's fighting with him and blah, blah, blah. And then she's fighting with Minerva, and I'm skipping around a lot because you got to watch the movie. There's so much going on, but because it's 2.5 hours, this movie. But then she says to Maxwell Lord, Minerva, when they're getting away, she says, he goes, what do you wish? He goes, you're being loyal to me. What do you wish? And she goes, I want to be an apex predator. That's what I want to be. Right. And because she wants to like embrace this power and take back her life and all that other bullshit, whatever you want to say. Right. And that could have went a lot of different ways. Like, I don't know if a cheetah would be an apex predator. I guess it would be, but like, she could have been a dinosaur lady. I don't know. You know what I mean? But like, if she turns into, well, think about it, Lil. I'm just saying. I mean, go on. I'm a mean chihuahua. Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. But she becomes a cheetah, and the effects of cheetah were really, really cool. And she has this. They have this fighting scene, which could have been a lot better. I would have liked to have seen her as Cheetah interact as Cheetah, because it's all just fighting. It's all fighting, not a lot of talking. I would have liked to have seen her as Cheetah sooner. And we don't get that either. To backtrack a little bit.
Well, and did they ever even call her Cheetah?
No.
Did they ever even say Cheetah? That was another thing that I was like,
Here's your callbacks. In the very beginning, when she meets Diana, Diana's wearing cheetah or leopard skin or cheetah skin.
No, it's a cheetah print. Her cheetah print heels.
Cheetah print heels. Oh, well, I love those heels. So that's it's a cheetah. Oh, okay. You're as a fan, you're like, oh, there you go, cheetah. Right now, here's the cool things that they placated to the fans. Okay, first of all, when her and Steve are trying to get away, they steal a jet, and the military's going after them because they stole a jet. Right? I would expect, don't let these jets just come flying off, whatever.
Well, especially not from the Smithsonian.
Right. Whatever.
Which makes you wonder, how's a jet in the Smithsonian have fuel?
Exactly.
Right.
So
like Demolition Man,
it's a nice jet too. So she does this thing where she creates through magic. Now, I didn't know Wonder Woman had this power personally, but okay. She makes the jet invisible based on what the powers of Zeus. Zeus was able to do that kind of stuff. She talks about it, not briefly about Zeus, but she talks about legend of doing this, that, and she makes the jet invisible.
She did it to an apple, and then she lost it.
Right. So then my wife is going crazy because it's the invisible jet.
The invisible jet. I know. Right? I was doing the same thing. I was watching with my daughter, and I was like, the invisible jet.
My wife was falling. She fell off the couch. She's like, it's the invisible jet. Right. My wife loves Wonder Woman. So then we get that. So then there's another thing. They said that they filmed it like it was filmed in the 80s. So that's why some of the special effects looked like they were 80s special effects. I'm like, is that something that just didn't translate well to the audience? Or are you just trying to make up something to make up for why the effects weren't that great?
No, because they have the ability and the budget. So if they were trying to, to do a nod, plus think about Patty Jenkins is a director.
Yeah.
She's not, you know what I mean? Like, no, if that's
That's
I
what they
can
said.
believe that.
I was like, okay, because the lasso did not look that great as far as when she used it and stuff like that. It looked
What did
very
you want it to look like? I'm confused.
I don't
Give
like
me
a
more
lasso,
information.
like a lasso. I don't know. It looked drawn. It
Like
looked
a
it was
cowboy
drawn
lasso?
Yeah. I want that shit to feel.
Matt,
wanted-
help me.
I didn't want it to look like the way it did. So what happens is, I'm gonna move on.
I'm
So what happens-
judging you, but go ahead, keep
I'm
talking.
judging you. So she learns through help with the like she's doing like she lassos a lightning bolt and pulls off. I mean, really cool effects in that sense. That was really cool. But what Wonder Woman learns to do in this movie is she learns to fly. And that was another thing too. That a lot of people who know Wonder Woman, unless they're really big Wonder Woman fans, don't realize, yeah, Wonder Woman flies. She doesn't need the jet. The jet, just like Spider-Man doesn't need a doom buggy. Okay. Like she knows she can fly, and she learns to fly in this movie. Like when she goes out there and she starts to fly and something, and it's like so cool. And my wife's like, she's flying now. She's flying, and there's no jet, blah, blah, blah. So she learns that, and she lassos a fucking lightning bolt and swings off of it. I mean, really cool shit with that. And I said, this is very fantastic, for lack of a better term, because I'm like, this is so catering to the fans. Give them what they want. They want a flying Wonder Woman. They want an invisible jet, and they need Steve Trevor? I guess for the way they did the story, it made sense, but like
They had to have him because that's what Diana, think about what's happening with the Dreamstone. What would Wonder Woman want?
Right.
Wonder Woman doesn't need anything, doesn't want anything. But what would Diana want? What would Diana wish for?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Now, you get to the scene where she's got to make this choice. The world's in chaos. Okay. Cheetah's not Cheetah yet. She's about to become Cheetah. Maxwell Lord's fucking going to every guy out there that owns arms dealers and stuff like that. And he's making even the president of the United States, and he's getting all these wishes. He's become the most powerful person on the planet. Right. And he's like, I'm sorry, my dad was just texting me. He's like, they're going through all this stuff, and Diana finally realizes, through the help with Steve Trevor helping her too, that what, he goes, I lived my life. Like there's all this chaos around, and she's shot, and he helps her off the street, and like she's not going to win. If she continues down the path that they're on, she's not going to be able to help them, because she is no longer the hero that the world needed. Okay. So he takes her off, and so he goes in and says, listen, I lived my life. I got a chance to see wonderful things, and I got a chance to see you again. What more could I ask for? Blah, blah, blah. You need to renounce your wish. And she says, I will never love again. I teared up. It was a very powerful scene in this movie, because I was like, she's like, I'll never love again. I felt so bad for her, because she so loves Steve Trevor. And she's like, I'll never love again, and this, that, and the other thing, blah, blah, blah. And she renounces her wish. So then he slowly fades away. And then her scars start to heal. And she starts running. And that's
running down the street.
And then she gets into all this stuff. Are you coming out? Wait.
Do you not tell people what we're doing?
I know, my dad doesn't care. So
yeah, parents don't. They're just like, screw you. You're a little stupid little YouTube show.
I'm on his time. So so like you get all this stuff, and then what ends up happening is the only way she's able to defeat Maxwell Lord, going back to the beginning of the movie, is for truth to be told, that hey, sometimes wishes are good, but there's a reason why wishes don't always come true, and blah blah blah, and something. And without getting into the whole trope of it, she makes it so the entire world sees or hears this conversation.
Well, because
right.
the only way to make things go back to normal is you have to renounce your wish. That was the reason why she renounced her wish to begin with. And that's why they had that whole conversation, because that was the only way to reverse what happened with the stone. So then now she has to get everyone who made a wish to renounce their wish for things to go back to normal.
Right. Now, that's not to say that they will, but she
has to try.
She has to try and say, hey, this is the way it's got to be, and things aren't going to always be good. And she basically says, like Lily said, you can blow out these candles. That doesn't mean your wish is going to come true. You silly kid.
It's kind of like I tell my son all the time, and it's like, guess what? Sometimes the world is going to suck.
Right. Now
you got to deal with it.
Now, in the movie, during the fight scene with Cheetah, there is story of, before this happens, of this armor that the Thanagarians have it's the first Amazon. And her name was, what was her name? Her name was Assyria. And what she did was she fought off man so that the Thanagarians could not be enslaved anymore and live as they do as Amazons, because the Thanaskara is all women, right? So they got rid of all men. So that thought was done because she sacrificed herself, this one great Amazon, and that armor was her tribute, right? So Diana puts on this armor to fight Cheetah, and it's cool armor, and it's just so you can sell another action figure is what it is. But she does this stuff, and so at the end, Diana gets everybody to do that shit, and she's walking out, and she's as gorgeous can be, walking around in the snow, and she doesn't even live in 1984. And who does she bump into but the guy who Steve Trevor's soul was embodying? But he doesn't know who she is because he has no memory of her or anything like that. And he's wearing one of the outfits that Steve tried on, with a big furry scarf.
It was what she wanted him to wear.
Yeah. She really liked this one. And Steve was like, nah, I'm not wearing this. And they have this nice little conversation. And she smiles at him and stuff like that. And he said, well, I'll see you later. Have a nice day or whatever. And it goes back to where Steve's like, things will be okay. You will love again. You will be able to move on, that type of thing. And you kind of like get that thing that she's like thinking, maybe I can. Because, she's thinking, hey, I already saw this guy naked. I already know what he looks like. So I'm jumping.
I don't think that's what was going on there.
The truth shall set you free, Lil.
Thinking on your end. She's just.
Well, she was being true.
What I got from that scene, maybe because I don't have testicles, is that she saw him and he reminded her of the time she spent with Steve. And so she was, thinking back on the time she spent with Steve. And also thinking, hey, that dude's wearing the outfit that I picked out.
Well, she was being truthful. It reminded her of the time he got out of the shower. She was like, let me climb on this dude. That's truthful. I'm being truthful to myself. She was being truthful to herself and saying, yo, I got needs. I know this guy looks like.
She is Wonder Woman. There is nothing a human man can do for her.
So just as some little things in that scene where she gets hit with a snowball, the daughter is her.
It's her oldest daughter.
It's her oldest daughter and son. It's Patty Jenkins' son. So they had some cameos in it. So that's kind of cool that the director and her.
Gal Gadot's husband and her younger daughter were on the carousel or the merry-go-round, which was super cute too. Yeah, that
asshole. I don't like him because he's married to her. But like
you got a shot.
Look, I totally have a shot. Yeah. Maybe if I have like a rag, maybe or something. It's like whatever. That's all I can do. But no, so we get some credits, and then you have a mid-credit scene, and we see a dark-haired woman walking down a street, and there's a crowd of people, stuff like that, and a pillar starts to fall, and it's going to fall on somebody, and with one hand she goes boom, and she catches it, right? And that woman gets out of the way, and she puts it out.
No,
of
it's
the
her
way.
baby carriage. It was going to fall in the
On the baby, right? So the woman says, "Oh, ma'am, can I got to thank you, blah, blah," and she turns around, and it's Linda Carter, right?
It was so
Right.
badass. I lost my mind.
And what Linda Carter was playing was Asteria, the going back the first Amazon that armor was based off of. She was playing that part, but it was like, oh, we got to call back to the one and only Wonder Woman from the 70s and blah blah blah. You know, so that was kind of a cool thing too. So they did a lot of fan play up in the movie. They did a lot of that throughout the thing, and so you got a lot of nostalgic stuff in there. I think the movie could have been written better, personally. I really do. I think we could have gotten a little bit more here and a little less there in that sense. I see what they did with the Diana versus Wonder Woman trope, where we had to, like, Diana the person had to make some decisions. You know, do you want to be this tribute and this hero to the world, or do you want to be like everybody else? You know, that type of thing. And I kind of got that from that. Because Diana, and you see this in the first movie and in the second movie, the mother's like, you're not like everybody else. You're special to this world. You know what I mean? And you have a different place on this world. So, you need to understand this, So that happened there. And so it was a fun movie. I did not like it. I think it definitely was not as good as the first one. Did you think it was as good as the first one?
No, the first one was definitely way better, but
Yeah.
I think it's a lot better than people are giving it credit for. Like, there's so many people that are whining and complaining about different components, and I thought I agree with you that it could have been written better. There are some places that they fell a little bit short.
Like, couldn't you have swapped? I could have swapped the truth story with the stone, and had the truth story come up in a conversation that she's telling what her mother told her before. You understand what I'm saying? Like in other words, I could have got the truth story in a smaller context, and maybe had that first 8 minutes have to do with the stone, so it sets me up that this stone's going to be something big in this movie. That would have been my big thing. Writing well. I don't know about you. I mean, that's what I would have done as a writer. I would have done that because I think the audience doesn't need, the audience also, where the audience needs to know these things ahead of everybody else. I think it also lends a hand to say, well, why the hell would she think that that's going to work? Why the hell would they do this? I can't accept that they're just going to say, I'm going to wish on the stone and see what happens. Like, I don't believe in that. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, but again, like, that's like I said, when you make a wish and you blow out the candles on your birthday cake, they didn't think it was going to happen. She wasn't like, oh my God, let me make a wish on this stone for my dead boyfriend to come back. That's not what was happening. No. Like, not at all. Even Cheetah, like, even Kristen Wiig wasn't like, oh my God, let me make this wish so I can be awesome like Diana. Like, that's not what was happening.
That's exactly what she did, word for word almost.
Okay, yes, that's what she said, but oh goodness gracious, that's not what was happening.
It was word for word. You would have did a better part than Kristen.
I liked the movie, and
it was good. I did not like it. I didn't like it. Yeah. I don't think, whereas I thought the first Wonder Woman movie was the saving grace of the DCEU.
For sure.
I don't think this one was.
Wonder Woman is saving everybody's ass in the DC universe. Like, I'm sorry, you could say what you want. No one gives a fuck about Superman, and everybody's annoyed with Batman now. So what are they going to do?
And they're going to run
and Wonder Woman.
And they're going to run. They're running. They're planning to run 2 different Batman franchises at the same time. That's what DC is doing.
I don't know how that's going to go.
Because you're going to have to pick one or the other.
everybody wants to look at Wonder Woman. Everybody wants to stare at Aquaman. So that's where
that's what I was about to say too. It's like, obviously, I've never been, super big into, comics. I've just, thankfully, grown up. It was more or less, it's not really the comics. It was always a cartoon TV show. So if it was done as a cartoon or, a live action show, that's really, but you figure Aquaman of any character in the DC universe was probably the one I cared about least. And of the movies that come out, that's the one I love the most. Because they took a character who was always just kind of like, whatever, like he's almost like a throwaway character, and they made him a badass. Now the fact that Jason Momoa playing that, didn't hurt either. But he pulled that off.
But you know what?
That off, and he was a very human character too. Placated himself. They had that humor in there, especially that scene in the bar. It's like, are you that fish guy or whatever? And he's like, yeah, I'm ready for your company a fight. It's like, no man, I want a selfie.
Rather than have good writing though, really good writing. They played on the fact that like women will go see Jason Momoa
all day long,
and that's what they
did.
It
doesn't matter what movie that man is.
It doesn't matter what movie.
Watch it.
You're absolutely right. That's why I'm watching Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my entire life. Ridiculous. Now, you sit there say, well, look at Scarlett Johansson. She's going to come up in her movie. She's dead in the movie. She's dead, and she has a movie coming out. I'm going to go see it. Granted, I know it's going to happen. You know what I mean? But like, I'll go see it because it's Scarlett Johansson. So yeah, that happens. But the DCEU, unfortunately, they waited to see what the MCU was going to do, if they were going to fall on their face. And by the time they realized, no, they're not falling. They're doing everything exactly right. They're hitting the nail. It was too late for them to play catch up. And therefore, rather than to do the right thing, which was to go movie by movie and do like Marvel did, they jumped into stuff and made a half-ass movie. You know what I mean? So like, I wouldn't say Aquaman was better than Wonder Woman 2. Aquaman was better than Wonder Woman 2. Was not as good as Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was better than Justice League and was better than Batman Superman. Okay.
Justice League. I really didn't find that very entertaining at all. I felt it was just very scattered.
It really fell short there. Yeah. It was disappointing.
Yeah.
So one out of 5 movies for the DC universe is very, very like not satisfying to me. Yeah. As a comic book guy, as a fan of these heroes and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a Marvel person, so I prefer Marvel anyway, but I love these other heroes. Not like I don't like Superman or Batman or whatever, but like they just did not hit the mark at all, except for one movie. And with that being said, and for some reason, period pieces tend to do really well. Do you ever notice that too? Like Captain America: First Avenger was such a great movie.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it really is, and it kind of takes us back to the days of Indiana Jones, and movies like that where there's nostalgia to a point. There's excitement. There's this like I'm on this roller coaster ride. You don't get that with a lot of these other movies, but like there's nostalgia movies like Wonder Woman, because you're in World War I, and how these people who know nothing of technology and stuff like that are looking at this Superwoman like holy shit, like where did this woman come from? She's an angel from heaven, that type of thing. It's something that like it brings a different aspect to it than everybody else who in like 1984 like they're like, who's this Wonder Woman chick? Oh. Like it wasn't like they weren't as impressed with her as I think they should have been. And it kind of showed that like, since she was being discovered in 84, that means that she went underground for a long time after World War I, in the first movie, you know what I mean? Like, in other words, she didn't just stick around and in America and do shit. Like if she did, it was totally under the radar, because they were just discovering her in this movie. Like they kind of placate that, like, who is this woman? Like, who is she? And she's even like in the mall, in the beginning of the mall, she takes her tiara off and she knocks out all the security cameras so they can't watch her. Like, and she's in full costume, not like she's like Diana being like conspicuous. She's like in full costume and she's like, I don't want, basically them looking at me. why I do this. So like, it was kind of like stuff was all over the place and it left a lot of holes. And that's where the writing kind of was bad in that sense, I think. You're right in saying that some people are jumping down the throats of certain things and not others, but overall, it was an okay movie. It was not great. It definitely was not great.
I'm
definitely
excited for the third one. I'm interested
And
to
now
see
the
what
third
they do with the third one.
Right. And hopefully they'll take some of the criticism from this. And because it almost seems like in this movie, they said, let's make sure no matter what we do, we get an invisible jet, we get her to fly, we get it. You know what I mean? Like there's key points I wanted you to.
They had the
how you do it. Right.
They had the checklist, and just it doesn't matter how we get there as long as we get there.
I don't care how you do it, but just do this. And then you come up with the rest of it on your own. But like, it's just like when they wanted to do that Superman movie with Nicolas Cage and they wanted Superman to fight a fucking spider at the end. That was their main thing. They're like, I don't care what you do with the Superman movie, but he has to fight a spider at the end. And they're like, I don't know how this will happen. It's not a big thing. And then they didn't do the movie. And then what did they do in Wild Wild West? The same director and the same producer, they fought a spider at the end. So he got a spider in another movie. He just wanted a spider in the end for some reason. You know what I mean? Like it didn't make sense to anything that was going on. So you got to kind of like say, who's in charge of this movie? And are we going to hold the fans to this? Or are we going to like just put a movie out there? What are we trying to sell toys? What are we doing? And I think Marvel did a really great thing by saying, I want to give the fans something that they love. And I don't think DC's doing that. I think DC's trying to how about we do this? How about they're throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks? And this is not the time to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's not the time to do it at all.
Yeah.
But really liked it.
Marvel just because again, there are certain things where, and I'll kind of hit on how Marvel did things right. The one character in all the Marvel movies that I was the least familiar with was Doctor Strange. And I remember even asking you, going, okay, well, I'm not really as familiar with the character. I was like, is this one I can kind of skip over since I'm not familiar? I said, or is this really going to be necessary for me to, really understand what's coming? And I remember you telling me, saying, well, you could probably skip it and, have it not really be a major effect on everything else. He says, but I think you should watch it because it was good. And it took a movie and a character that I'm watching that movie going, this is cool. Mm-hmm. I got to learn more about that character, even though I had no base for it.
And it ended up being one of the better movies.
Doctor Strange not essential?
Well, he was essential. I mean,
Well, he was essential.
Now he's definitely essential.
No, I think. Well, and I think what Dan's point was when I asked him how it played out was if you don't watch Doctor Strange is going, and his powers are going to be explained enough.
Well, meaning that
get what he can do.
Meaning that his movie did not play into some other movie like heavily.
Exactly. It was more, but it was a thing of, and again, that's what Marvel did well. That's what kind of Marvel did well is the fact that, as Dan said, if I would have skipped that movie, I still would have understand everything else that comes along, and his character is still developed. I would have understood his relevance and his importance.
If you're trying to follow the chain of events of what's happening,
I'm trying to follow the chain of events.
Right.
I could have pulled that out and still understood what was happening in this movie here.
Now you fast forward to now.
I just fast forward now. Understanding.
That was as of that point, though. If you fast forward to Endgame,
then
you better go back and watch Doctor Strange because it's like movie, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And he's setting up the next phase. So
but I think it was Infinity because I was leading up to Infinity War, and I was like, well, I don't know.
You probably should.
But he's like, say you probably should because you'll understand it better. You'll have a better understanding.
I didn't want to put pressure on him to watch it. I didn't want to be that guy that Dan said I have to watch this movie,
Well, no, because if you, but again, Dan's my expert. That's my expert. That's
so guys, Wonder Woman 1984. It is on HBO Max. It's playing now. It is in the movies as well. I'm going to go out on a limb and say if you're brave enough to go to the movies, don't bother for this movie. I'm gonna definitely say that.
But also, don't be brave enough to go to the movies. Stay your
stay home. Yeah, stay home anyway.
Home.
Yeah. But like,
If you
but
don't have HBO Max, then don't sweat it and don't worry about watching it.
buy
is
a
what Billy's
bigger
trying to
TV.
say. Don't go to the movie theaters.
Buy a
Keep your
bigger
ass
TV.
home.
Buy a bigger TV. That will look a lot better. And watch the movie. The movie was okay. I think you're going to find stuff out of it. Fanboys
Yeah,
and
it was
fangirls of
good.
one, they're going to like it. You're going to get stuff out of it. I think you'll agree with this. You might not agree with this. If you don't or you do, comment down below. Make sure you tell us what you thought, what you think about it. Or, you know, are we on the money? Is Lily out of her mind? I don't know. These are all things I want to hear about down in the comments below. And just before we end the show today is Lily's birthday. And I know I was going to say it. Yes, it's her birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Lou.
Happy birthday, Lil.
I mean, I guess whatever.
I guess whatever. See, she's so modest. So for the lovely Lily Hernandez, for Matt Sunner, my name is Danny J. Until next time, keep your cape in the wind and your eyes to the stars. Have a great day, everybody.